Oh well. Anyway, but I've been thinking a lot about different endeavors with like YouTube channel and different things. I remember we were talking, I think maybe episode 1 of this season, where I was telling you, like it's been like 10 years. The guitar YouTube thing's just never really taken off for me. And there's a whole combination of factors and whatever else. But especially with my new love of golf, I'm like, how fun would it be to do like a Nick Does Golf Across Canada YouTube channel, and not for any other reason other than just to give me an excuse to go to courses and play and kind of film it and stuff.
Or Nick Learns Golf.
Nick Learns Golf. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm not a good golfer by any means, but why not?
Yeah. That's the thing is that people like the journey, right? It's really what it comes down to. I think if you have an interesting story or people get to grow with you, I think people really, especially people that jump on it, early on, they like that,
Yeah, I think so.
And then eventually you become the expert,
Yeah.
At a certain point, it's like,
yeah,
I've been golfing for 20 years now, and I shoot -5 every round, and I'm not a PGA Tour pro, but I can hold. I could
hang with them, kind of thing. Yeah. But I feel like it might be a fun endeavor to do that. I don't think that there's anybody, at least in Canada. I mean, there's a guy in the UK, and there's a guy down in the States that does it, but they kind of do more like worldwide. Why not? I mean, we've got so many beautiful courses here in Canada. I mean, you just have to look at the mountains. Like you got Canmore, you got Banff, you got whatever, and they're crazy expensive. I mean, you go do a round at Banff Springs Golf and Country Club or whatever. I think it's $400 a round.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's just like, but kind of once in a lifetime, really wild.
I've played it, but that's because my friend was head of security there, and
okay,
so
nice.
Went out there and just did a round because he had free access. So,
right. Well, that's pretty cool.
Opportunity to take it while you have it.
Yeah, why not?
I'm a shitty golfer too, so it's whatever.
Right. Absolutely. So hey, welcome back to episode 9 of the Dudecast. I'm Nick.
I'm JD.
Here's some theme music. So there we go. So you were telling me a little bit about Create a Collective and different projects and things that you got kind of going on here. I'm curious, things that you're planning or things that you're thinking about.
It's for me, everything's creative stuff for me is always kind of an organic thing, I guess, is I kind of go with the flow. Like I have plans. I'm not a guy that rigidly sits down and says, this is part A, this is part B, this is part C, this will happen on this date, this date. It's like I have a concept.
Sure.
I have, maybe a rough idea what it's going to be. Or sometimes I don't even. It's just kind of like, let's plant a seed and let's see what grows. Like you just find something and you go with it.
Yep.
It might grow really, really well and then die off. You never know. But, I like to always kind of explore things. My life's always been about exploring different aspects and trying different things. A lot of people say, "Oh man, you've been successful at so many things." I'm like, man, if you knew how many things I failed at, you wouldn't be so surprised. It's just, you try and you either succeed or you fail. And, success again is, it depends on your definition of success,
For sure.
Some things people see like that was a total failure. Like that was the biggest success I've ever had.
For sure.
But the Creator Collective, I always, for me, it's always about bringing people together and, trying to get like-minded creative people to work and, do things and enjoy what they're doing. I think I've been posting it. I've been kind of creating these little, if you follow my Twitter account, on the Creative Collective thing, and I'll share it through my own personal one. So if you're following one or the other, you'll see them. Are they these little motivational kind of, I don't like to call them motivational posters because I always picture those, like everybody with business suits with their hands in the middle, success and all that kind of crap. I don't think of it like that, but it's like I always put out little bits of information, like kind of like, happiness needs to be the ambition, things like that, things that I believe in. And a lot of it, I tell people as well is, like people say, it's like, you always got your shit together. You're always like positive. You're all that kind of stuff. It's like, man, you don't know me that well because a lot of that is self-talk too, right?
Sure,
it's
of course.
I need to be focused on this because, sometimes you get wrapped up in bills, being an adult and all, it's like, hey, I got these bills, or things aren't going quite as planned, or I didn't make as much as I thought I was going to make, and so on. But I have to remind myself, like, why am I doing these things? Because ultimately in life I want to be happy, and happiness needs to be the ambition. It's not monetary things for me. It's I just want to lead a happy and full life. So sometimes it's just reaffirming that, and sometimes I think putting that out to the world, especially to other creators, is a positive thing, because you've been in creative endeavors as well. Your ego, I honestly believe a lot of creators' egos are terribly, terribly fragile and easily damaged, because you're just kind of putting yourself out there and you're not always readily accepted, right?
Yeah, for sure. 100% of the time.
Part of having a collective as well is just saying, like, hey, like, that's cool. Like, you did it. It's cool what you did. You didn't get the result that you want. But you did it.
Sort of slightly like congratulatory, or at least referential in the space that we can share stuff together and say, hey, good job. I saw that thing. You did good work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes even just one person saying it is enough. Right.
And that's sometimes all people want, just somebody to acknowledge that they've done something. Right.
Right.
And it's like I said, I have little pet projects that I do all the time. And I mean, I've done all sorts of stuff. I mean, you can see remnants of lots of stuff. Like, I got screen prints down here. I got, the studio set up here. I've got all sorts of stuff. And this is just like one of the working spaces that I have.
For sure.
So
is it so, like, with like Creator Collective, let's just say for example, is it something that you see yourself like being like a director of sorts, and putting projects together and like combining, or like an executive producer where you're like, oh, well, this guy needs this and this guy needs this. Let's put these two together and they can do a thing.
I think it's more just creating a space where people can kind of come in and find those other people. I don't see myself as controlling anything.
Fair.
I just want to create opportunity. If I have the opportunity to make opportunities happen, I'll do that.
Sure.
And I have like zero expectations out of it. And the other part of it is that, I think that, a lot of times everybody's trying to promote themselves and they don't have somebody cheering for them. And that's part of it as well, is giving you an opportunity to have another avenue to promote you. So,
sure.
If you go to the pages, and they're quite small, to be honest, at this point, because I don't put, hours and hours and hours. These are a side of my desk when, I feel in the mood or I have a few minutes and stuff. Like, I will share other people's work. I'll actively go out and say, watch something. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. Share it.
Right.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Share it. So it's kind of like being a cheerleader. So it's not directed or anything like that. I mean, ultimately, hopefully it becomes self-sufficient, and it just kind of is a thing, right? Where it's like, hey, I need somebody here. Let's go here. I know there's a bunch of like-minded people here. I'm going to find somebody that does this,
right?
And create those associations. Or somebody comes to it and says, hey, I'm doing this project. Who wants to be involved? Or just creating opportunities. And like the get-togethers, and you've been to them before, are more or less just like, hey, let's go, let's do this. If you want to film, great. If you don't want to film, great. It's just creating an opportunity and setting something up. A lot of the things have been through contacts that I have, or business associations that I have, and just say, hey, would you allow us to do this?
Yeah.
And then just let people do it, because sometimes access is the biggest thing.
Right.
We talked about opportunities before,
and
it's creating opportunities as well for, new creators. And
Sure.
It's all about learning too. I mean, there's always something to learn as
learning
well.
How to use your gear.
And I find for myself, there might be new gear that come out that I don't know, or there might be some aspects that I don't quite understand, and if I can learn those things, that's fantastic. But I find with myself, with my base of knowledge, and with dealing with a lot of new creators, that their knowledge, but what things that I take for granted are not necessarily common knowledge.
Right.
And what I consider basic concepts are sometimes people don't even know. And I find this through conversation, even just sharing what I know, I find makes me better technically, because I things that I take for granted and just do, I now have to explain, and I have to explain the reason why and go into great detail, and my thought process, even though it might happen like that, and the things, the variables, and break it down, it just makes me understand better and makes me better at the end of the day. So,
well, I mean, they say one of the best ways to become better at a thing that you do is to teach someone how to do it, because you have to break it down. You have to actually think about okay, what is it that I do here? Why do I do that? Oh, here's the theory. This is the thing. And these are the steps and like all the rest of it. Right. And it makes you better. Do you think if like, it's funny with creatives, I find that like you mentioned so many times, our egos are fairly fragile.
Yeah.
But B, a lot of what I've found with getting together with creatives, around, I don't know if it's Calgary specifically, but like this is just my frame of reference lately, where it seems like a lot of it is me. Here's me, like self-promotion is almost the biggest portion of a lot of the get-togethers. And I don't mean present company excluded, but I find a lot of it is like, here's what I do here. This is me. This is what I do. And blah, blah, blah. And it's like me all the time.
Right.
Versus like, here's how I can help you, or what can I do to help you? I wonder if part of that is the age, or if it's social media, if you want to call it that, or maybe it was just the headspace that I was in and I was just seeing what I wanted to see. Like, I don't know.
No, I think your perception's accurate. I think that there is a lot of that. I think it's, why that happens this day and age is for a couple reasons. Number one, is social media, and that a lot more people, I mean, frame of reference, like the internet didn't even exist, when I was an adult and I started out. So, I mean, sure. There wasn't that, you know. And there's a lot of people now that don't know any different. There are people around now that have, Facebook has always existed,
This is true.
So, I mean, people are coming from different viewpoints. And I think a lot of times, social media is, it's kind of like pushing out yourself. You're pushing yourself out to the world, and you'll get response every once in a while. So the natural tendency is like me, and then you'll get a response, and so you push until you get another response. You push, But I think it develops a bad habit, because I think there needs to be a dialogue, and I think that it can't always be about you. But I think social media has kind of created a monster, hyper-focused thing on you. Like, I mean, if you're getting a lot of attention, you're getting a lot of attention, and you'll continue to that behavior until, basically that bubble bursts at the end of the day. So part of it's that, and part of it I think is inexperience as well, that you feel you have to push yourself all the time. That your work doesn't necessarily, I mean, especially if you're a visual creator, or even a musician or anything like that, a lot of times your stuff speaks for yourself. Like, if you're in a band and you keep on, hey, I'm in the band, I'm a guitarist in the band, we're a band, we're a big band, we're a band. At a certain point, like,
it gets tiresome.
I don't give a fuck. But the moment that I hear you play and you're good, you don't have to tell me that anymore, because I'm going to seek you out. Right. And in fact, sometimes you maybe push too hard to the point that it's detrimental.
Right. Well, we've all got that friend or family member that is in a band, or that does a thing, or that really wants to succeed at X. And they're always talking about it.
And I think that's a habit that's early on, right? Because at that point, they are like hyper focused at being successful. They know they need to push, and that, again, it's just pushing so they can bring in a little bit. Because let's be honest, like, when you do something, the vast majority of people around you do not give a shit. There are some people that care, and you have your fans and all those kind of things, and definitely that. But you have to hit, numbers. If you're hitting, 10 people, maybe one cares. If you hit 100, maybe 5 people care. If you hit 1,000, maybe 50 people care, and it kind of gets, but you got to kind of keep growing, right? And unfortunately, sometimes, especially in the smaller stages, it's going to be very repetitive for people, know, and you have to realize that who you're talking to. I mean, if I talk to you every day and I'm like, hey, Nick, I'm a photographer. Hey, Nick, I'm a photographer. It's like, fuck, JD, like, how long have we known each other? Like, you don't have to fucking tell me this.
Exactly.
If I need you, I know where to find you.
Exactly.
Like, that's it. What's better off is that I share my work, right?
Yeah, of course.
Not saying I'm a photographer. It's like, hey, I did this. Like, hey, take a look at some of these, which is, either you take it or leave it, right?
Right.
And that work will speak for you so much more. Or the other aspect, which I think is way more valuable than any of it, is to help that person.
Well, yeah, and this is what I'm getting back to, right? I'm wondering if, so it's hard to do, I think, if you're going to do a specific like thing, like let's like have a video day or whatever, right? But if you have monthly get-togethers, just like a coffee and chat, or a meal and a chat, or a beer and a chat, or whatever, and you just get together, and the purpose of it is to commiserate on the creative process, to share ideas and stories, and ask for help on different things that you're doing. And then through that process, I think organically, people tend to come together and try to help each other. At least I naively think so, because I feel like for what I do, for example, or you know, have done, you know, in terms of music creation, I'd be more than happy to help people create music for their own videos. You know, the problem is that it's super time consuming. And you have to have a talent for it, and you do have to have sort of a baseline knowledge and a baseline of equipment, and if you don't have it, you can't do that. You know, although I would also argue that found music and various other ways of recording, it's now easier than ever. Like with an iPhone, you can, you know, hum a tune into it, and boom, you've got music for your video. But I feel like you know, it's cheaper and faster for people to go out and buy, you know, a licensed piece or get a free piece that they don't even have to think about, you know. So, but I feel like it's still the need to have that community around you in terms of support, I think, is now so more important maybe than it even was, you know, 20 years ago, because we are all trying to just push that content out.
The truth of the matter is number one, you can't be good at everything.
No, 100% of it.
You know, number two, you're not going to know everything.
No.
The third is you can never do everything by yourself. You know, if you get hired to do, I don't know, film a featured film, guess what? You can't do that by yourself. I don't care how talented you are. You need a crew of people, and you need people that are specialized in certain things,
for sure,
and are very good at those things in order to accomplish those things. I mean, you can do a lot by yourself, and you can learn a lot by yourself, and by all means, you know, the more you know, the better it is. You know, when I did film, when I was making the films, like audio, I don't fucking know. You know, to be honest, I mean, I do a little bit now. I do more than I ever did now, and you know, kind of like taught myself a little bit. You know, it's probably still baseline terrible, but whatever, it's enough to get by.
Sure.
Right. But I am not an audio expert, and nobody should ever hire me as an audio expert.
Fair.
You know, but you know, I feel in this day and age too, the problem is that people will often misrepresent themselves as something. You know, it's like, hey, I got Shure SM7Bs, I've got the equipment, I can do these things, I'm an audio expert. You know, it's not the same. You know, it's like, you know, there's, you know, all sorts of things with, you know, podcasting, because podcasting is very popular and all that kind of stuff. You know, there are a lot of people out there offering, you know, courses, and, you know, they've just basically done what a lot of people have done. They got on the bus early. They learned a bunch of skill, you know, some of it very good and not, and, you know, presenting themselves as one thing, but they're not audio engineers.
No.
And the crazy part to me is that, you know, that a lot of these people, you know, that are maybe you want to get into podcasting, for example, you know, if you go to a podcast specific studio and you pay X amount of dollars and, you know, you get instruction, there will be certain things that they can definitely help you with. But in the day-to-day recording of things, you know, to get a space to record a podcast, unless you are, you know, doing what we are, which is pretty low budget, to be honest.
Sure.
But, you know, your money is better spent going to an audio engineer and sitting in a booth and having it isolated. And, you know, in a lot of cases, they're a lot cheaper. Than,
100%.
You know, and they'd be happy to do it, because they're like, you want me to do what? Record your voice and make it like boost? Yeah, whatever, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Get in the booth.
Yeah, exactly. Get in there, just start talking. I'll record it all. You're good to go. Yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, no, I feel I was interesting thinking about like the collective, for example, like you were talking about. And one of the guys I've been listening to a lot lately is Simon Sinek, who's like a leadership guru, I guess, if you want to call it that. And one of the things that he talked about in one of his talks, he was talking to this group of actors. And I feel like there's a lot of similarity between actors and like YouTube creators, or just creative individuals in general, because acting is a creative, but you're not necessarily creating, you are interpreting.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest problems with actors is that when you go to an audition studio, or, you know, like an audition call, there'll be you and 50 other people all lined up to audition for the same part. And by and large, every single one of those person is going to be thinking to themselves, I hope none of these people get it. I hope I get it.
Of course.
Well, of course, because that's what you want. But wouldn't it be an interesting thing where if you could go, because you all know each other, you're all at the same auditions, most of you went to the same school, the same courses, you take the same acting classes, like you know each other. Wouldn't it be cool if instead when you got there, you said hello to each other, shook hands, how's it going, good luck, I really hope you get it. Like it's a completely different mindset. Because ultimately, there's an old saying like rising waters lift all boats.
Yeah.
You know, all it takes is for one of those actors in a group of 10 that you all know each other, one of them to create a great role or a great part or a great something. And then, oh, guess what? Now I've got a little bit of leverage and I can bring you in.
Yeah.
And I can bring you in, you know, and that's really all it takes.
You know, it makes me think of guys like Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
So Adam Sandler, if you watch his films, you know, which he produces now, he has his own production company.
Yeah.
It's always the same guys. And Kevin Smith's a good example as well. It's always the same people, the same actors. They support their group. I mean, and everybody does their own things individually.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you know, you can expect these people on his film because they know they're going to work, and you know, there's that camaraderie there, and you know, I think it's good. I think same thing. Like when you work together, you're much stronger as a collective unit than you are as an individual. Than you are as alone. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can give me a football and say run it to that end zone. If it's just me, I'm toast, right? Yeah. I might be able to get so far, or I might be extremely athletic and talented and do a really good job, and you know, by fluke get to the end. But if I've got a supporting cast of, you know, blockers and you know guys running with me or running misdirection, my chances are that much better. Yeah. You know, and you know, instead of, you know, trying to buck the system or trying to, you know, undermine something just so you get ahead further, you know, it's It doesn't work, right? You know, you all in the end, you all get the Super Bowl ring if you know. If everybody,
if you all get there together, exactly.
Yeah, just because you're not the standout, like you know, you look at football, like you know, and I'm not a huge team sports guy anymore, but you know, if you look at football, like guys like you know the center and the lineman, you know, kicker's always a goat too. You know, it's. Not a lot of focus is put on those guys, but they're out there every play, you know, bashing probably just as hard, if not harder, especially linemen than anybody else, because they want the team to succeed. You know, they don't get all the glory, not all the focus is on them. You know, they're not the quarterback, they're not the superstar, but they're just as important. And without them, you know, your superstar quarterback, he's toast.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so.
Yeah. Very interesting, and nonetheless, anyway, like I said, I've been kind of thinking about it a lot lately, and it's one of those things. And I think people, before I even got into it, I try to put out things. Sometimes I remember I put out a post on Instagram years ago, a year ago, something like this, and it was something to the effect of, "I believe in you. You can do it. You need help. Get in touch." And people were laughing at me going like, "You're an idiot. Why are you putting that stuff out?" I'm like, because I actually feel it. Like if somebody needs my help, I will help them if I'm actually able to. Yeah. You know what I mean? It goes back, and the same thing, like I think we had a tweet about it, something, giveaways or something. And I was trying to do a giveaway for a piece of gear. I was literally genuinely wanting to give this piece of gear. And it was like a nice piece of gear, an expensive piece of gear. And all I was saying was like, subscribe to my channel. Yeah. That's all you have to do. And I'm going to put you in a draw. And I got bashed for it.
You know, all that stuff's crazy to me. I think, you know, I don't know what to make of it sometimes. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Mr. Beast.
Yes.
So Mr.
Yeah, we
Beast,
talked about him actually a few podcast episodes
ago. So
he
he always gives away stuff, and you know, I always kind of, you know, I watch what people do, and I'm always kind of curious, right? So I think last week he was giving away $100. He's like,
sure,
retweet this, I'll give you $100 if you're the person that I pick,
right?
And he'll do it, you know, and I'm kind of like, you know what? And he had like thousands and thousands of people retweeting. I'm like, I bet you anything if I tweeted the same thing, that I would get like zero response. Yeah. And sure enough, I got pretty much zero response for it. It's crazy to me. And then, you know, after the pack, you know, people are like, whoa, who'd you give it to? I didn't give it to anybody because nobody did anything. You know, it's kind of, you know, and the amount of hate that you get, it's unreal. Yeah. It's like kind of like the, you know, bucket of crabs. Like people just want to bring you down. They see you trying to make that break, and they're like, I don't want to help.
Yeah, it's weird, you know. Again, it's like this.
And the moment you fail, they're just like, yeah, man, like you're with us.
Yeah, like the YouTube thing and music. Like I find creators in those two spaces seem to be the most negative, upset, uptight, me-centered people. And again, I don't know if that's just because of the way I was and that's what I was seeing, but I feel like that's like musicians entirely. Like if you put a piece of content out, no matter how good it is, you're going to get somebody going, oh, your finger position is bad. Oh, you should have played that on the D string, not on the A. Like, what are you doing? You know, everybody always looking for some sort of angle to try and bring you down. And I'm like, why? And to go back a couple podcasts ago when I was talking about golf, I feel like this is the first sport that I've participated in a long time where, okay, I'm not competing. I'm not competitive at this point, but it's a sport and it seems like everybody's there to help each other and like cheer each other on. It's so refreshing to be in that environment versus the you suck all the time.
I wonder if it's you know, strated. You know, I think with a lot of like creators, like I'll take photographers for example. Sure. I just joined a Facebook group of all things. You know, for no other reason that somebody tagged me in a post there.
Right.
You know, and of course, you know, me and what I do socially wise is if you say something about me, whether it's negative or positive, generally I will respond at some point, you know. Or at least laugh at myself if you're being an ass towards me. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know, I got terrible teeth, whatever,
Sure.
You know, kind of thing. But it was a nice post. It was it's like, hey, if you're doing like concert stuff or this is the guy to take a look at his stuff.
That's a thoughtful thing.
And,
sure.
you know, I went in there and I said, hey, like, you know, I joined the group specifically just to say, hey, thanks. You know, I appreciate that. If you guys have any questions, by all means, you know, give me an answer. You know, I'm not here to share my work. I'm not going to, you know, pollute your group with, you know, hey, I just shot this massive rock show. Here you go. Here's the photographs. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not here to critique anybody either, unless you ask me. If you want me to be honest and forthright with what you want, I'm more than happy to do that, but I'm here for no other reason than to thank Brad for, you know, saying some nice things and, you know, and then through that post, I gave the guy some feedback on what he had and so on and so forth. So, you know, it's kind of interesting, but I think you know, when you're amateur, where you're not getting paid and it's strictly high, all totally like, dude, awesome job, dude, all that kind of stuff, you know, like you're good, there's this, there's that, you know, all very, very positive. I think once you hit that threshold of your amateur pro, like where you're kind of wanting like, hey, I want to charge people money and stuff like that, then it gets like a little weird off the bat. So I'm wondering if golf's the same thing. It's like when you're an amateur and you're just playing for fun and all that kind of stuff that everybody's really positive. But when you hit that threshold of like, maybe you want to be not necessarily a tour golfer, but maybe a pro golfer at a club that teaches classes or something.
Could be
like
something.
That.
Yeah, I don't know.
That if they turn on each other a little bit, and that's a little bit of that is competition. You know,
could be.
You know, it's like fighting. Like, I mean, I used to fight all the time. You know, I will still tell you like, I was the best. I am the best. You know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But that's a mental thing as well. You know?
Right.
You know, I have no ill will about anybody that I've ever fought or you know.
Well, but see, this is my point. Like, I feel like it's kind of sport in general.
Yeah.
Because you know, before a match, you know, you shake hands. Good luck. Good game. Yeah. And then when you're done, great game, good luck. You know, and then you go have a beer.
Shake hands before we fight.
Okay, but I'm just, you know what I mean. Like,
there's a lot of eyeballing going on.
Sure, but like at least that's kind of the way it is with golf. You know, you wish each other a good. And I mean, for me, and I mean again, because maybe I'm too new and too naive, but like I mean it. I'm like, you have a great game, because really, I get out there. The only one I'm playing against is me. All I want to do is make my game better. Yeah, you know. But I don't know. Like,
if you're going out there and the difference between the guy that you're playing with, you know, a shot or two, you know, means the difference between $2 and $5 million for you. Are you that happy for him?
At a certain point, like, really, like, I don't know.
Honestly,
yeah, no. Obviously, you know, the selfish part of me is like, no, I want to win, beat everybody.
And I think that's what drives people a lot of times.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that there's ill intent behind that,
right?
But part of you is like, you know what, dude? Like, I hope you have a shitty round because I need a Porsche.
I need a fourth Porsche. Well, but this is the thing though. Is like, do you really want to win because somebody else loses, or do you want to win because you played the best that day? Like, a win is a win. It doesn't matter. But
I think some people, a win is
ego?
A win, right?
Yeah.
You know, I think when you get to a certain point,
yeah,
you know, I think when you're on the top of something, you want to be the best or better, right?
Right.
I think, if you've won a championship or anything like that, that's your pinnacle. You've hit it. You're the best.
Right.
Okay, now what? Right?
Sure. Do it
At
again.
that point, it's like, okay, can I do it again?
Yeah.
How long can I hold on to it? Can I be better? Can I be faster? Can I do these things?
Right.
Especially when you look at like timed sports, right?
Right.
You win a world championship. You run the 100 meters in like 9,
Whatever
8,
it is. Yeah.
and it's like you won. You're faster than everybody else.
Right.
And then you win another one, and you won it at 9, 8-3.
Yeah.
You're happy that you won, but part of you, because you are the guy, you're probably like, I want to run a 9.6.
Yeah.
That becomes the goal.
That becomes the goal. Well, but see, so this is my point. I think the difference, and again, I'm going to quote Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
So it's the difference between a finite game and an infinite game.
Yeah.
So if you go to game design theory, a finite game is one where the rules are structured and laid out. There is a beginning point and an end point, and there is a clear winner and a clear loser. It's a finite game.
Yeah.
Like golf, you've got 18 holes. The player with the least amount of strokes wins, period. Right? An infinite game is where you have an undefined number of players, a circumspect or vague set of rules, like physics, they all apply. But there is no clear winner and no clear loser. And so in a finite game, the point is to score the most points or do the least amount of strokes or win, have the fastest time or whatever it happens to be. But infinite is you basically play until the other players lose the will to continue or the financial resources to continue.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very different mindset. And I feel like creativity, because it is so objective, is really an infinite style game. And there is no winner and loser. And yet I think a lot of people feel like in a creative endeavor, it is a finite game. Like I have to beat you to make myself, like to be better. Right. But there is no beating because you're not playing the same game. You're not even in the same fucking sport.
Well, what wins for one person is not wins for another.
That's my
right?
point.
For you, it might be, I want to make $1 million.
Sure.
For me, it might be like, I have like 50 people that follow me on a regular basis.
Right.
Right.
So
no monetary.
But how do we compete? You can't. Because it's not a competition.
The thing is that in that situation, you probably wouldn't be competing.
Right.
Number one, you would look at it. You wouldn't look at me as competition. I wouldn't look at you as competition.
Right. But again, I think we're. But
I think when you're starting out and small, and the success isn't defined. So maybe we both have 0.
Sure.
You're looking for $1 million. I'm looking for 50 likes. At a certain point, we might be looking at each other like, oh man, like he's ahead of me. He's got 49 likes. To me, you're like. You're where I want to be, and there's some envy in there, and that becomes, maybe a tripping block for me, right?
Right.
Or maybe I don't have the likes and I have a bunch of money, and you're like, how's this guy making money and all that kind of stuff, and me, I'm miserable because I don't even care about that. What I care about is not there, and I think that's what fucks up, in all honesty, a lot of creators is that your expectations sometimes are not realistic, or you're not really reaching your expectations, and it's causing you a bunch of misery. And then you have to really actually go back and evaluate what you're doing, and saying, am I doing this for the right reasons? And at a certain point, to be honest, especially if you're a business portion of it, it's like, and again, talking about ambition, my ambition being happiness, like, are you reaching your goals? If it's not making you happy, then don't do it.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah. Especially if it's not monetary.
Right.
If you're monetary and you're not reaching it, you're spending like 40 hours a week and like, I'm never going to hit that. There is a time to pull a plug.
Yeah.
Businesses fail.
Yeah,
I hate to,
for sure.
I want to tell everybody, I will tell everybody, you can be successful if you want to be. It's just like, how much do you want to invest?
How much are you going to,
and how much punishment can you take? Because let's be honest,
realistically,
there is punishment involved.
For sure. Long hours, broken relationships, all sorts of different things.
It's what do you want to sacrifice to reach those goals? And again, what's your ambition?
Right.
Is it money? Is it happiness? What is it?
But again, that's kind of getting back to my point about this finite versus infinite game.
Yeah.
I think creators especially think they're playing the wrong game. They don't know the game they're in, and they don't know the end point. They don't know their definition of success.
Yeah.
And I think that's
is it a
what's
hobby?
bringing people down. Well, but this is it, right? Is it a hobby, and is it just something you enjoy? And if that's the case, then
There's
have at
nothing
it.
wrong
Who
with it
cares?
being a hobby. And I think, and honestly, looking at some of the stuff, and I mean, I've met a lot of creators, I would say, in the last 5 years because of stepping into the YouTube realm in particular.
Yeah.
But I think, a lot of people don't know what they're doing. It's a hobby. And they'd like it to be more, but they're really not putting in the effort or putting anything like that.
Right.
Like, I mean, YouTube for me is, essentially at this point, it's a hobby.
Sure.
It's I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it because I put in more time than I probably get back.
Yeah.
But there's no illusions there. Like, I mean,
Right.
I know, how I look, how old I am, what
Sure.
demographic I appeal to, all that kind of stuff. If I was destined to be a celebrity, I would have done it 30 years ago, a long time ago. That's
Right.
not my path. This is
Sure.
just something I enjoy doing. And, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
So you have to be realistic about it. Is it a hobby? Or,
absolutely. And it's just, it's interesting. A lot of this, I think it's funny that we're talking about this, and it's now almost, well, by the time this podcast comes out, it's kind of like a year since my sort of transformation, physically, mentally, life stuff, whatever's going on. And there's a lot of reflection that I've been kind of doing. And it's I've let go of a lot of ego, and I feel like I'm able to look at things with a better lens, and I have a better outlook on life. And part of that is due to my health for sure, and probably also age, right? As you age, things become clearer and you start to understand your life a little bit better. And it's interesting to me that there is that divide of like, okay, well, how realistic are you with something? And you're getting to a point where it's like, okay, well, do I need to pull the plug? Like you're saying, do you need to pull the plug? Do you need to change directions? Whatever. And it's sad to me that people that, I shouldn't say it's sad to me, that's not the right word, but I feel bad when people have illusions of something beyond what they're capable of, or beyond what their realm is going to be able to provide for them.
I think if you're a creator and you want a better understanding of maybe what we're trying to talk about, because I'm not sure if I'm articulating well, go watch minor hockey.
Right.
And go watch all those games and get guys that are probably, we'll say 25 plus, and they're just kind of there grinding it out, and they're good. They're good. They're good hockey players. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But they're not going anywhere.
No.
And see what they're going through, and follow them and watch them, what they're going through emotionally and all those kind of things. They're holding on to something they know is never going to happen for them. It's like, I want to make the NHL. This is my dream. I've worked my entire life. And these people have. Like, I mean, since they were kids, they were probably getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going hockey. And you're just not at that level. And, sometimes it gets sad, at a point, like, they kill a bunch of their life, where if they just readjust it, it's like, what do you love? Well, I love hockey. It's like,
but what do you love about hockey?
Could you coach? Could you do this? Yeah. As long as they're not like absorbed in like, I want to be a superstar kind of thing, that kind of, I think that's
that's a different and dangerous mindset. But I mean, like, what is your thing? I like hockey, or I like money. Okay, well, cool. If you like money, there's way better ways, way faster ways to make money than trying to make it in the NHL. Sure, you can make it in the NHL and make millions of dollars a year, but I mean, you could put half the amount of effort into a business venture and make almost that amount of money within 5 years.
And lo and behold, is all about hockey.
Right. But you get I think I like that analogy, and it makes sense to me. It clarifies, and hopefully some of the viewers out there will maybe understand what we're talking about a little bit better because of it. But I feel like having your definition of success in line with your actions, right? And your actual product, or whatever it is that you're creating or doing or working or whatever, having those things actually line up will make for a much happier person than somebody who's just being like, I want to do this thing, I want to be famous, or I want to be rich, and I'm doing this thing that there's no possible way in hell that it's ever going to make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to be a famous person, and I'm really good at knitting.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a famous knitter. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're out of your mind. lining up expectations versus reality, I think
Right.
needs to be done a lot
and
more.
it's taking steps to make it to where you want to be. I mean, if you want to be, the A-lister in a Hollywood film, you've got to, take certain steps. And I think a lot of times too, what happens is like people just say, I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
And they'll,
because I want it.
I'll buy a fancy suit and I'll, get some headshots and, I'll get the portfolio put together and all that kind of stuff. And then I should be here. They don't see the journey and they don't see the hard work and they don't put the effort into themselves or work towards those things.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how many auditions do you go do today? What do you mean? I played Xbox.
Yeah.
Great. You're not going anywhere.
Boo. Yeah, exactly.
It's, or, did you read lines or did you do Shakespeare in a mirror for, 5 hours today? Did you go, to your local theater company and, read lines and work and do, theater games, a big thing, I guess, and all those kind of things. Like how much work do you put in? Like, it's that kind of overnight success thing. A lot of these people, people again, it kind of goes back to our life and money and all that kind of stuff, seeing people in a certain part of their life. It's like you see the end result, but you don't see what went into that point and how much work and years and dedication went into that. And just to assume that you're going to get that or that you deserve that when you don't do anything, it's foolish. It's, and I don't know. I feel, and I could be completely wrong. And if you're listening to this and you think I'm an idiot, you can definitely, tell me I'm an idiot on my socials and why I am. But, I think people, their expectations are just they're not cultivating,
realistic expectations. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I didn't get to where I am today by not working my ass off. Yeah. Right. Well, and I don't stay where I am by not working my ass off. I think, like episode 5 or 6 of this thing, I just said, like, I worked for 6-8 weeks straight. Yeah. Like with no break in between. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it takes. And you will never stop. There is no end point. Yeah. Like you talk to people and it's like, what's your plan? I want to retire at 55 or whatever. Yeah. And, oh, cool. What are you going to do? I'm just going to go sit on a beach and drink cervezas, man. It's like, okay, well, that might be good for like a day or two to decompress from life, but like, what are you going to do? Yeah. Like, that's not a plan. Doing nothing is not a plan. Yeah. I think it's just, the fact is that it is hard. Life is hard. Life is suffering. Yeah. It's difficult to make a good life. It doesn't matter where you are. I think we're way luckier in Canada than somebody in Cambodia, for example, but it's still hard. And we get bogged down in the money and the stress and the bills of day to day. And really what you want is, I want to release from that and not stress out and think about it for a day or two. Yeah. But then I need to do another thing. Yeah. I think what kills us, especially in North America, is comparison. Yeah. 100%. It's, and again, and I think it's actually Gary Vee that's probably echoed this as well, is that, again, it's like, if you're at day 1, you can't compare yourself to somebody, year 7. Yeah. It's just not reasonable. No. Right. And, if you are in year 1, still looking at year 7, it's still not reasonable, and to go back to our very, very first episode of the Dudecast ever, the anti-social media, I think this is maybe what's given me and allowed me to have some perspective on this. Not being on Facebook anymore, I'm no longer exposed to people's pristine, perfect lives. Right? Of friends and family and so on and so forth, and different posts. And of course, all the bullshit about Trump and the whatever else, but I'm not exposed to that. And I'm not comparing myself anymore to things. I still have Twitter, but I don't use it a lot. And I have Instagram, but I mostly just follow like fitness models and like now golfers, but I look at it and it's just fun. And it's just like, oh, that's kind of cool or whatever. And I don't really interact. I don't really do a lot with it. It's just kind of cool pictures. But that comparison is no longer there, and I'm really being my true self now. Yeah. A year later, it's taken me really, not quite a year, it's like 10 months to really decompress and get out of that. And I wish that for everybody. I think take a year off Facebook or all media in general, social media in general. Get off it, find yourself again, get happy. And then come back and use it with a clearer head. Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense. I think it does. I mean, for me, I can't say the same. I can't say get off social media because I rely on it heavily.
Sure, of course, yeah.
To do what I do. But to the same extent, like, I mean, if you have a 9-to-5 job and you work and all that kind of stuff, and sure, like, I would ditch it if I didn't have to, get my stuff out there and kind of be in front of other people. I wouldn't do it. Like, but that's my job, right?
Yeah, for sure. So
if I got paid a 9-to-5 and I didn't have to do anything, and I just collected a paycheck at the end of the week and it was always there, I probably wouldn't be on it at all, to be honest. It's, I think, the comparison of, forget business side, comparison your journey in business, but comparing other people are showing your perfect life. They're showing you their best life forward. They don't show you what's behind the door. They don't show any of that stuff. Yeah. It's all fake bullshit. Yeah. It's, it's complete and utter bullshit. And the thing is I think it's dragging, like you said, a ton of people down. You feel less worth, it's like, man,
100%.
Joe's got a Porsche. Joe's doing this. Joe was just in Cancun. Joe, has like Instagram models around him like 24/7. The truth is Joe's an alcoholic. He's in like crippling debt, and, half the shit went up his nose, and, he's like, 5 seconds away from living in a cardboard box downtown. Like, and that's just the reality of it. But he's got a perfect Instagram life for now. Yeah. And when Joe does drop off the face of the planet, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see the down, like, people aren't going to post their downtimes. That's just kind of it. It's a highlight reel, a best highlight reel. Yeah,
absolutely.
And if you're comparing yourself to celebrity, where I think it's even more dangerous, like you're looking at, Kim Kardashian and what she does every day, like, you're going to be a miserable motherfucker your entire life because you're never going to get there. And I hate to say that. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that to say that you can't achieve things. I'm just saying that, like, you're not going to get there because you're already, like, so far behind that you're never going to catch up. It's, you might get yourself, but again, it's setting goals that are realistic and being comfortable in what's going to make you happy. Like, what's going to make you happy in life. Yeah. If it's Kim Kardashian followers and money, like, I feel sad for you because you're probably going to be miserable your entire life, and you're going to be, even if you got close, it's like, oh, Kim's still number one. Yeah. Her butt is just that much bigger than mine. I don't know, like,
she can keep the butt, man. Yeah. It's kind of ridiculous.
Oh, it is. But I mean, it's unrealistic, and it distorts things, right? And like, I'm going to harp on Kim Kardashian for a minute. It distorts, for young people, right? It gives them these unattainable, unrealistic kind of goals and all that kind of stuff, and
for beauty, for wealth, for friendships, whatever.
And it's funny, like beauty Instagrammers. And I was watching something, I'm not sure where it was. It was either YouTube or something like that. Like, beautiful, like, photographs, and they're all done up and they look perfect. They look like they walked out of salon. All like they're doing it in squalor. Just to kind of get ahead. But, for them, if they're looking at it as a business perspective, it's like kind of eating shit for a long time to kind of make it. For sure. All the power to you. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, like, I haven't eaten for 6 months and I'm going to get kicked out of my apartment. I can't buy, $50 whatever Mac, whatever face paint. Yeah. Getting super technical here because it's a Dudecast and we're talking about makeup.
When you said Mac, I was like, $50 for a Mac device? Where are you buying your Mac peripherals?
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just Mac's the only one I know because I see it when I walk.
Well, they use it in the photography world a lot, right? For models and so forth.
Yeah,
right?
but
Mac cosmetics,
yeah, I mean, it's just at a certain point, it's like, this is not going to work for you, man. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, don't worry, JD, I have no illusions of
being a Mac model.
Of being a Mac model on Instagram. I will never be a beauty model, so it is totally okay.
You never know. Never say never. Mac, if you're listening, he's looking for sponsorship.
I'm available for sponsorship. Yeah, absolutely.
You can sponsor the Dudecast.
The Dudecast brought to you by Mac Cosmetics. Get your smile on.
That's a total miss.
Yeah, right. Not gonna happen. Well, man, I think it's been a good one, and I think we'll wrap it up here unless there's any final thoughts.
No, just, like I said, do what makes you happy, and don't compare yourself to others. You know, it's, and play more golf while you enjoy it.
Play more golf.
I don't know about that. I don't. No, my cousins do, and like I said, it's for me, it's not attainable.
Fair enough.
I mean, I used to live on a golf course.
Right.
I still live in the same place. It's just not a golf course.
It's just not a golf course anymore. Fair enough. Well, there you go. I've been Nick.
I'm JD.
We'll see you on the next one.
All right. See ya.